Hi guys, if you are a person looking to get their life together, you are in the right place because so am I, and I'm confident that we can do this together. And I'm starting with my money. For the last 6 years, I just devoted every bit of my energy to a debt-free journey, and I was rocking it. I was paying off credit card debt, paying off old medical bills, paying off back taxes. I was just so proud of myself. And then I hit a wall in 2022 and came careening down, completely lost it. I actually wrote some notes here because I can't even wrap my brain around what I did in 2022. I spent $5,275 on clothing. I spent $8,085 on home decor. That's like $1,200 a month that I just lost chasing some sort of crazy, all because I made one big mistake. A big mistake I can't wait to talk about later on in the video. For me to figure out how I got here, I have to go back and look at the beginning of the crazy world for me. So let's look at me in 2016. And there I am. I'm a 50-year-old woman with no retirement savings, no savings really of any kind. I'm not kidding, like a $500 emergency would have completely ruined me. I would have been homeless. I'm a professional musician and a good one. So I have a wonderful residency at a major university with the groups that I'm in. And so we're making wonderful money, but still at the end of every month, I'm completely broke, like down to single digits in my bank account. I would routinely come home and flip the light switch and nothing would happen because I didn't realize until that moment that I hadn't paid the light bill in 2 months. Electricity is going out, cable is going out, car is always running on E because I couldn't seem to remember to fill the tank. I was a complete disorganized, hysterical mess. And I didn't come to this moment from nothing. There was an origin story behind this. In the early stages of my life, I was informed in a way that set me up for this crazy life that I was living. The only thing my origin story taught me to do was run. And that's exactly what I did. I just kept running. And let me tell you, I could have gotten like a gold medal because I was running away from all these problems like an Olympic athlete. I mean, I was reaching for that gold medal, people. And eventually all this stuff is going to catch up with me, and I knew it. I felt like this was not right. I felt like this was not going to work. There's no way I could sustain this. But I couldn't get a comprehensive view of what the problem was, what I was doing, and what I needed to do to shift myself out of that lunacy. The first big shift out of that came for me at a very quiet moment. I was sitting in a fancy downtown restaurant, working on my computer, eating a designer taco and drinking a designer cocktail. And it suddenly occurred to me, why am I sitting here eating a taco and drinking a cocktail in a fancy downtown restaurant? That's not even who I am. I'm a quiet homebody. I love to cook. I love to have a collection of folks over that I'm really, really good friends with and maybe cook for them, have a few laughs. I'm a very quiet person. Why am I living in this big fancy downtown loft where I'm throwing gigantic parties every couple of weeks? And I looked at my life and I realized it wasn't mine. I was living somebody else's life. Somewhere along the line, I learned that what life is supposed to look like had nothing to do with what was right for me. And something about that just clarified it all. Literally, in the next couple of months, I moved out of the fancy downtown apartment, sold 90% of the items that I had in that apartment, and I moved into a little 500 square foot dinky rundown place that I put together with my little decor loving heart, and I loved it. I loved living there, and I saved so much money on eating out, so much money on rent, so much money on utilities. It was easy as breathing, and it was comfortable and natural for me to be living this simple life that I was living. And it gave me opportunity to build my confidence and also build my bank, build some bank account for myself. The next big shift came for me when my mother got sick. Yeah, bless her heart, she passed away a few years ago. And in those final years before her passing, I was the child that was living closest to her, and I took on the full responsibility of her care. I moved out of my little dinky apartment and I moved us both into her house where she was bedbound and I could be her primary caregiver. And I gotta tell you, I'm still a little wacky, a little disorganized when it comes to money, but nothing clarifies your intention as much as taking care of another person. I can't play about whether or not my electricity is going to go off when my mother is lying in an electric bed hooked up to an electric oxygen machine. I was so terrified that the electricity would go out. I would just randomly drive over to the electric company and knock on the door and say, "Hey, do I owe you any money? Please take my money." And something about that made me get clear quick. And then as I'm looking, I stumble across the one big secret that my mom had taught me. And that was, if you want to learn how to do anything, somebody, somewhere, at some point in history, wrote a book about it. And I tripped across a book by Nichols called Prosperity Now. And that was the book that gave me the full resources of information that I needed to take care of my mother, to make sure that she could pass from this world with some measure of dignity, and then take those lessons and apply them to myself after her passing. I took every bit of information that I got from that book. Bless your heart, the pages are dog-eared. There's a flag on everyone. Everything in the book is underlined. I used it to create a systematic action plan. I went step by step through everything on my checklist and got my life back in some semblance of order. I can't even say back. Got my life in some semblance of order for the first time ever. There was no back because there was no history of ever being together. This was my first chance to be a real whole grown-up. And every book I read led me to the next book. I read her book. I read Ramit Sethi's book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I read Dave Ramsey's book, of course, The Complete Money Makeover. And then I went and I read everything in the Dave Ramsey collection. I downloaded the Every Dollar Budget, which to this day I use pretty religiously, like on a daily basis. And little by little by little, it started to look like a real person with a real life. And I was happy, and I was very, very proud of myself. During that window of time, I paid off $42,000 worth of debt. And I'm still trying to figure out how I became that person and then morphed into the person who's spending $1,200 a month on random stuff like a crazy person. And I realized what it was. I understand what the one big mistake was that I made. I forgot to rest. I forgot to rest. One of the things I learned when I was taking care of my mother, we were also in hospice care. And hospice has a system that they do that's designed to give the caregiver an opportunity to rest. And it's understandable. I mean, it's hardcore. We're talking bed baths and diaper changing and just an exhausting schedule for the caregiver. And it's hard on the spirit, And what they do is they will take the patient into their hospice facility and give the caregiver 3 days to just rest, regroup, reclaim their energy, and then be ready to move forward with the care of their loved ones afterwards. And I realized that I never gave myself a respite. Even Dave Ramsey doesn't expect you to stay in a debt-free journey indefinitely. He suggests 2 to 3 years. He doesn't expect a gazelle to run with a gazelle-like intensity forever. And that's the one thing that I wish I knew then that I know now. And that is, I needed to take that moment and actually go get a pedicure. Go and buy some new clothes. Maybe go on a small, sensible vacation for myself or with loved ones. I should have prepared myself to rest, regroup, and recover. I'm not upset about the fact, well, maybe a little bit, upset about the fact that I spent so much money in 2022. I'm upset about the fact that I didn't plan it. I didn't prepare it. I didn't set myself up to do what I needed to do for myself and still continue to succeed and move toward my goals. So there it is. That's the number one thing. Go in hard, go in with gazelle-like intensity, but prepare your own respite. If you know you're going to be on a long debt-free journey like me, give yourself those opportunities to rest. And the second thing is prepare your respite exit strategy. Because the last thing you want is to have this moment where you release the reins a little bit, become the new normal. Take the time you need to regroup and then get back in the game. And my strategy for getting back in the game is my 2023 No Spend Challenge. I've added a link to the video. I would love for you guys to watch it. I'd love to hear what you're doing to get yourselves back on track. Looking forward to next time.